William the Power McHugh, you have been to play Resident Evil 3 Remake, is that correct?
That is correct. I went down yesterday to play an early build of Resident Evil 3 Remake at Capcom, and we were thrown in the game about half an hour from the beginning and had a good 2-hour stint with the game.
Okay, cool. So am I right in saying that you never played the original Resi 3, but you have been playing the Resident Evil 2 Remake?
That is correct. I feel I was a little bit too young to appreciate the Resident Evil games when they first came out. However, like a lot of viewers, I got to play Resident Evil 2 Remake last year, which I really enjoyed, and this is very much the same.
Okay, cool. So you said you have about 2 hours with the game. Why don't you give us like a broad strokes of what that 2 hours was? Like, what did you do?
So you start off as Jill Valentine, and you are in a subway, and the basis of the 2 hours was to get the power back on so we could power the subway and I think get out of there. But obviously that's a lot easier said than done. So we go up into the streets of Raccoon City, which looks absolutely beautiful, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
The neon street lights of all the different shops just contrasts perfectly with the dark grunge. And obviously, as it's a Resi game, there's some Resi puzzles that you have to figure out and get items from different places in the map and go back to unlock different areas, and eventually you get through it all.
So the map itself, it's not open world, is it? Is it like quite expansive? Is it, you know?
The part that I played, it was probably about the same size as the entire police precinct from Resi 2 Remake, I guess.
Oh, okay, pretty
But that's
sizable.
just like one street, and then there's different ways you can go around the street. So it's not too linear, but obviously there's one way that you can go, one thing that you have to do ultimately.
Mm-hmm. So you said when you were saying that. What are the other characters that you met during your time?
So you meet Carlos.
Yep.
And you also meet other people from the faction that they're in.
The Umbrella Corps guys.
Yeah, there's one
Yeah.
with the guy with a white beard who's got an umbrella logo on him, who seems like a bit of a douche.
Yep. He's a good lad. So apart from the quote-unquote good guys, there is another character stalking the streets. Why don't you tell us a
Right.
little bit about this guy?
Mr. Nemesis. So I didn't know too much about him before actually playing it. I didn't want to watch too much. I knew obviously he was a massive bad guy like Mr. X or Tyrant was in Resi 2 Remake, but he is not the same as Mr. X at all.
So what are the key differences?
The first time I saw Mr. X, I was absolutely terrified. However, after, I don't know, half an hour or so, I kind of figured out how to play him. I could hear his footsteps coming, and I was like, oh, I'll just run away. But you can't do that with Nemesis. He's going to get you, no matter how hard you try to get away. He's got a lot of other abilities, let's say, that he can use that he doesn't necessarily have to be right next to you to get you.
Yeah, so I mean, I believe we'll be showing some B-roll under us talking, and when I was watching it, there's a move that he does where if you're running away, he'll leap in front of you and cut off your sort of escape route.
Well, something that's also pretty unnerving is that he doesn't have to go through the areas that are accessible to you, if that makes sense. So he can go through or over buildings and jump down where you wouldn't expect him to come from at all.
So he's like John McClane in Die Hard, where he's using the air ducts to get through.
Right, he just appears.
Yeah.
And he is pretty terrifying, and he takes a lot of damage to get him down.
Right. Well, speaking of damage, what about the other enemies that you encountered? So I'm assuming zombies.
There are noticeably a lot more zombies about the streets of Raccoon City compared to that of Resi 2 Remake. But there are some cool features such as the dodge that you can use to escape attacks.
So this is key, isn't it? So this is going to be what I would consider the main difference between Resi 3 and Resi 2 is the fact that Jill is a lot more agile.
And there's also things around the map like red barrels or electricity boxes that you can shoot to use to your advantage to take out a massive horde of zombies instead of using your precious ammo.
So do you think it plays very differently to Resi 2 then?
In parts, yes, but in parts, there's also those quiet parts that build suspense and jump scares out at you. So it's not full on just an action movie at all. It's got a perfect balance of the two, I think.
Nice. So other enemies, or was that what you saw?
There's a part in the sewers where there's these spider-like zombie creatures that if they get you, you have to use a first aid spray or a green herb to get rid of the toxicity, otherwise you just die. So if you've not got them, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah, so I think they were back in the original games, but they look a lot more terrifying. Like they're not like regular spiders or overgrown tarantulas as they were in the old games. They're much more zombified human spider hybrids.
So for the normal zombies, you can, if you want to, just run away from them. But from these spider boys,
Nope,
none
of that.
Not getting away. So there's these other huge evil things that I believe were in the original called hunter-gamers, but they've been redesigned so they're absolutely massive now.
They look like blobfish.
Yeah, I thought it was just a massive fish coming out at first, but then they open their mouth and that is your chance to attack, and if you don't, it's game over for you.
Do you know what they reminded me of? I don't know if you ever saw a TV show called Street Sharks.
No, I know Shark Tale.
Not quite the same. Or Sharky and George, all different things. But yeah, they're like fish on legs, aren't they? As opposed, because in the original games they were more frog-like amphibian, whereas in this game they look like blobfish and they eat you whole.
Yep.
So in your 2 hours with the game, what kind of weaponry did you see? Because there's an unbreakable knife now, right?
So we started off with the pistol and a knife, and the knife is unbreakable, so you can use it as much as you want, I guess. So speedrunners, if you want to go for a knife-only playthrough straight away.
Nice.
That'd be awesome. I did also unlock the shotgun, so there's that in the game as well. I only got to play one section of the game.
So did you manage to get anything else out of the devs while you were there? Do we have a rough idea of runtime? Because Resi 2, each campaign was about 7 or 8 hours long if you took your time. Do we have any idea of what this will be?
No, I am not sure, though I assume it will probably be something similar, as they've bundled in Resident Evil Project Resistance in with Resi 3 as well. That pads it out a bit, which is also a fun little minigame.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk about or tell us about? Did you overall have a really good time with the game?
I really enjoyed it, yeah. I'm definitely going to try and play it as soon as it's released. The gameplay session ended on a boss fight with Nemesis, which was intense.
Right.
It was a lot harder than any boss fights that I've played in the Resi 2 remake. And a lot more fun.
Well, that's something to look forward to then.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much, Will.
All right. Cheers, man.